What's happening, travelers? Nitsan Mosery here, the traveling investor, with another awesome show of the Traveling Investor Live Q&A, where we demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet so you can be at every softball game, so you can go on vacation, but most of all, so you can tell your boss to go kiss your ass. I'm Nitsan Mosery, the host of the Traveling Investor, and we're born into our families, and we're born into our society, and we're born into our parents' financial reality. But what most people don't understand is that just because we're born into a specific family or socioeconomic world, that doesn't mean that's where we have to end up. You see, being born poor is not your fault, but dying poor is. And a majority of people live life by default. They accept the cards that they were dealt and offer no resistance to mediocrity. See, here on the Traveling Investor Show, we talk about how to live life on your terms, how to create the life, finances, and relationships that people dream of. So join me, Nitsan Mosery, your host every week on the live Traveling Investor Show, where again, we demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet. Now, I heard once Donald Trump, before he became president, he was talking and he was saying, what separates successful, wealthy people from everybody else? He goes, it's one thing. It's the ability to handle stress. It's the ability to get your ass knocked down by society, by life, by your business, by whatever it is. Getting your ass knocked down to the ground, but yet getting back up every single time. And I don't know if many of you have watched Rocky, right? One of the Rocky shows where he's talking to his son and he goes, you know what? Ain't nothing going to hit harder than life. Life is going to knock you on your ass, but it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. It's all about getting back up. And if you get back up every single time and you keep putting one step in front of the other and you keep moving forward, guess what? Eventually, you're going to make it. And I love Dale Carnegie's definition of success. And I'm paraphrasing here. Dale Carnegie's definition of success is someone who has put on paper their goals and their action steps and has set forth on the journey to achieving their goals. They are already a successful person. And today's guest is nothing shy of that. My guest, his name is I just lost it. Luke Andrews, excuse me. Got a lot going on in my head. Luke Andrews, he is the epitome of someone who got knocked down, got back up, got knocked down, got back up. He says, I've hired, fired, grown, and contracted my team over the years to get success. But to share with you a little bit more, he's a best-selling author, and he's also purchased 40 rental properties before turning 40 and has a passion for trying to change lives through real estate. And I just want to give you a glimpse. So 40 rental properties. If each property, forget giving you $1,000 a month, what if they gave you $500 a month of profit? That's $20,000 a month in passive residual income, passive recurring income. This guy did it before he was 40 years old. And I had the privilege of talking with him a little bit before the show. And we're going to talk more about where he was and what he did. But he started in the corporate world like many of us in the real estate world. But he got tired of making other people rich. How many of us can relate to that, right? I always tell people you're either building your empire or you're building somebody else's empire. You can't do both. So he got tired of making other people rich and decided to start his own business. And it's been a difficult journey with ups and downs, successes and failures, all in the while thinking that he's made it, but just to find out that he would get knocked down and he'd have to force himself to get started again. So without any further ado, I want to bring on Luke Andrews so he can share his story. Hey, Luke, how are you?
I'll tell you what, I am fired up after that intro. Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, you're bringing in Rocky and Dale Carnegie and, just telling your boss to kiss your ass. I mean, man, who is not fired up and geeked after that intro? I love
I
it.
appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so you're calling in from Louisville, is that right?
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky. Awesome, man. How's the real estate market out there in Louisville?
It is hot, just like everywhere else. I mean, I think we're starting to see things soften just a little bit over about the
Uh-huh.
last 6 weeks or so. But it's soften is a relative term, because we're still way above any quote unquote normal market. Things are
Mhm.
still moving significantly swifter than they normally would. But it is softer than it was earlier this year, and most certainly the last couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. But you know what? There's still opportunities to be made, right? Up market, down market, there's always an opportunity. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, right now, as things are starting to soften, and the traditional public starts to be in fear just a little bit, this is the time for investors to come in and find deals that they normally wouldn't be able to find. What's the old Warren Buffett quote? Be fearful when others are greedy, be greedy when others are fearful, right?
That's right. That's
So
right.
investors have been kind of sitting on the sidelines these last couple of years, but now things are starting to shift in their direction, and they're ready to pounce.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Luke, do me a favor, for our listeners here, you know, share with us kind of where you were before you hit your 40 rental properties. What were you doing? What made you make that shift, right? What was that? Was it one event? Was it a compilation of time and events that happened?
I've got kind of a unique story with that. I was in the corporate world. I was in strategic marketing and data analytics. I had one rental property, which happened to be the very first house that my wife and I owned. We built it in 2006 at the kind of the height of the market. And then as the market started crash in 2009, 2010, we decided it was time to upgrade. We were starting to have kids. We needed more space. And we were fortunate enough that we were able to carry that first note and still be able to purchase. And oh, by the way, everything was on sale in the fall of 2010, so we were able to upgrade for for a fraction of the cost. Um, but like I said, I was in the corporate world, and I had a buddy that I was working with, and we started talking one day and said we were both interested in real estate investing. And so we'd take walks every day. We'd go, grab some lunch, we'd take a walk, and we would just start talking. And we started formulating this plan. And there was this up and coming area of town where you could find this little shotgun house. You could find one that needed some work, for around $20,000. And so our plan was to buy this property, cash, do the work ourselves, fix it up, and kind of use that BRRRR method. The buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was our plan. So we were out looking every day. We were combing the MLS. We were looking at Zillow. We were walking neighborhoods trying to find this perfect property. Well, as things happened to do, it all kind of fell into place. He was having a conversation. He was at his girlfriend's parents' house for dinner. They had some friends over, and he was saying, "Hey, I work in strategic marketing, but my real passion is real estate. I got a partner. We want to get into investing." And they said, "Oh, well, that's interesting because we are actually in the process of liquidating our portfolio and retiring and moving out of state." And so we went from trying to buy one property with cash to all of a sudden a package of 13 falls into our lap. We had no idea what the hell to do with 13 properties. We didn't know how to manage 13 properties. We didn't know how to finance 13 properties. We didn't know how to get the money for a down payment for 13 properties. We didn't know anything about anything, right?
I
So
call that the oh shit syndrome.
yes, it was because we were looking at each other like, man, this deal is too good to pass up. But
Right.
what are we gonna do? We don't know anything. So we found people smarter than us, people who had done it before, and just started asking questions. And so it was, and that's really what it was. Is it turned into, okay, well, we found someone that could teach us how to manage it and teach us how to find lenders and teach us how to find contractors. Well, once we found the lender, everything was great, but we still didn't have the 20% needed for a down payment. So we ended up taking on a partner with us, the same person that we met with originally. Um, so it at least split that down payment in half. Now,
Mhm.
I can tell you, we still didn't have 50% of the down payment. So again, we were at this phase where it's like, okay, the clock is ticking, time's running out, but this is a great deal, but we just don't have the money. So coming up, trying to think creatively and outside the box, we went to this other partner and said, hey, what if you put up the remainder of the money that we're short? We'll still be 50-50 partners, but we will agree to work as property managers for free on a schedule until this is paid back. And what that did, at the time we were grasping at straws, trying to find anything we could just to make this deal work. But what it did is it taught us to, one, don't give up when things look like they're challenging or it's all falling apart. But two, managing those properties at that point, that taught us so much.
Sure.
Like I said, I had kept my first property out in Colorado, and it was a 5-year-old, 6-year-old property at that point. There weren't any problems with it. I had the same tenant the entire time. They were fantastic people. I mean, I never had an ounce of trouble with it. Now, all of a sudden, going to 13 properties where I'm actually going to have to be a property manager, man, we learned a ton. But what it did is it got us that itch. It got us that bug where we just wanted more and more and more. So how do we find more? How do we do this?
That's awesome. Isn't it amazing when you realize that uh, you can actually use other people's money to buy real estate and you own it and you can take a piece of it while giving them a piece? When I realized that, it was like the heavens opened up, this golden light came down upon me, the angels started singing, and I realized that now opportunities were endless.
Yeah, they really were, and it kind of started with a Robert Kiyosaki quote. He's rich dad, poor dad, and whether you like him or you hate him, or whether you're team Robert Kiyosaki or um, team Dave Ramsey, I think we can take nuggets from each. But there's a part in Rich Dad Poor Dad where he says he stopped saying I can't afford it and started saying how can I afford it. And
Hmm.
that's what we did. And that's what got the creative juices flowing that allowed us to come up with this outside the box solution to be able to purchase these properties that we knew were a home run.
Sure, sure. It's the same way with I teach my clients that we work with together with multifamily. I tell them, I said, there's that word how. How do I do this? How do I buy multifamily? How do I get money? I said, just take those three little letters and just change them around. Instead of how, it's who. Who can
That's
help me do this? Who can
that's
help
right.
me do that? Where can I find this? Right? It's forget the how, but the who. Right. I remember when I got started in multifamily, I didn't have a track record. I didn't know anything. So I was always asking, well, how do we buy multifamily? How do we buy this? How do we buy that? Uh, and I realized that it wasn't the how, because nobody knows how to do things. No one's born a master multifamily syndicator. No one's born a real estate investor. No one's born an engineer or an architect, right? We all learn how, but there are people that already know how to do this. So why don't I just connect with them? So I have to figure out who,
Yeah,
right?
that's I wrote that down as you were saying that because I had never heard that rearrange the letters of how to who, and it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. It just suddenly it everything opens up for you, right? When you're able to look at it, just like you said, right? Just like Robert Kiyosaki said, right? It's not that I can't afford it, but how can I afford it? How can I go out and do this, right? Once you make that mind shift, that change of language, then it's like on a computer that screen just auto populates and you get the answers right there, and now you just got to go out and take action,
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So what were some of the, you said you suddenly had to get it, you were buying 13 properties at once. What, other than the money aspect, what were some of the other challenges that you had to overcome to get to closing? And what were the next steps after that got you to 40?
You know, not a whole lot of challenges getting to the closing table because it's like I said, we found someone who had done this numerous times in the past, and so they had a lot of great connections and were able to introduce us, and they had financing partners and everything else. So it was that was a relatively simple process, but the road to 40 was, it was about buying and selling and trading and looking for, combinations of rental properties, and some were multifamily, some were single family. We had another package of 15 single families that came along that we were able to utilize the appreciation that we had in the equity in those 13 properties that we had initially, because we came through and we understood pretty quickly that with multifamily that it wasn't just about fixing up the property to gain value, that it was about turning over the rents.
Hmm.
And so we were able to come through. They were drastically under rented, and we had a lot. We were fortunate enough, the timing, there were a lot of leases coming due. We were able to increase those rents significantly. And so we built kind of some instant equity in there that it didn't take anything other than sweat equity. There was no check equity that we had to put in on the front side, which was
Hmm.
great because we didn't have it. But we built up the equity in those 13 units fairly quickly. And then as this package of 15 came along, we were able to do a refinance of the 13, pull some cash out, and then able to buy this 15 along with it. So we went from 13 to 28 in a hurry. And then from there, it was just a matter of kind of piecing some together here and there, buying a few, selling a few, and now started moving into a few flips. I've never been very big on flips. I know a lot of people, they're fantastic. It's a little too much for me to manage. And it's not necessarily in my wheelhouse. But starting to move into the short-term rentals, the Airbnbs right now. Actually just
Hmm.
purchased my first with my business partner. Um, that was my 40th property that we closed on about 2.5 months ago, and I turned 40 in about 4 weeks. So I kind of squeaked in under that wire, right,
That's awesome.
of that goal that I had set for myself. I'm kind of wishing now I would have set a goal of 80 by 40.
Right.
It doesn't have quite the same ring to it, but I'm a firm believer that if you set the goal, if you set the intention, and then you just start working just a small plan on a daily basis, that it's kind of that, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it.
That's right.
So
Hmm.
yeah, like I said, I'm wishing now I hadn't done 40 by 40 and would have done 80 by 40 or 100 by 40 or.
Well, you have now from 40 to 50.
That's right. That's right. So it's 250 by 50.
There you go. There you go. That's beautiful. Yeah, it's we just my wife and I bought a house in the Ozark, by the Ozark Mountains in Northwest Arkansas.
Oh yeah.
We turned that into a short-term rental. We just had our first guests come in, and that is a great business model. You can make a lot of money doing that, and you can also syndicate it. You can also that's a type of acquisition that if people out there listening, you can syndicate that as well. Raise capital from your equity partners, from your network, and go in and you can buy short-term rentals without any of your own money as well.
Yeah.
Right. It's always good to own a couple of pieces of property free and clear that you own yourself. But when you're starting out in the game, getting other people to come in and to fund the deal so that you can build that wealth and that cash flow is phenomenal.
Well,
What?
I used to be very against partners,
Mhm.
just for the simple aspect of I don't want to split the profits with anybody. It's like, okay, well, if we're making $200 a month, it's not great, but it's not bad. But if I've got three other partners, all of a sudden that's only $50 a month. But then I shifted my mindset to, hey, one, not only I may be splitting the profit, but I'm also splitting the risk significantly.
Right.
But I'm also splitting the workload amongst
Exactly.
three other people. And having these additional partners allows me to scale significantly
Mm.
faster.
Mhm.
And so what I realized is, I could have one at 100%, or I could get 12 with four people. So that really kind of turns me into three instead of one.
That's right.
So it was just that power of leverage and power of scale that has shifted it in my favor, that I am all for partners as long as they're the right partners.
That's the key. So let me ask you this. So you've obviously learned what are the criteria for the right partners. Would you like to share some of those criteria for our listeners?
Sure. And I've had good partners. I've had, partners where it didn't quite work out, and we've kind of split our portfolios and gone our separate ways. But for me, when I'm looking for a partner, um, a lot of people they're looking for someone who is going to be their, what I call their twin, right? Somebody, we've got the same goals, the same vision. We're completely on the same page. I'm not looking for my twin. I'm looking for my mirror.
Mm,
So I want someone who has the same goals and the same vision and the same values, but I don't want the same strengths that I have, right? I'm looking for someone actually that has strengths where I'm weak, and
hmm.
vice versa. So where I'm struggling, he can pick me up, and then where he's struggling, I can come in and I can pick him up. That's where my partner and I are very, very good. We balance each other out, and we're able to do significantly more, because we are mirrors of each other. And I also say never take a partner strictly for financial reasons.
Right.
Never discount a partner for financial reasons, but never take a partner strictly for financial reasons. You want to make sure that all of these other pieces line up, because if your goals, your vision, and your values don't line up, um, it's not going to end well.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. You got to find someone that complements your skill sets, someone has the right visions, and someone and a lot of times it's multiple partners, right? The bigger you get, the more people that you got to have on your team, right? So you gotta partner up with people that after you close multiple deals and you're well off on to on the path of success, that you can share a drink with on some island somewhere, that you can hang out with them, that you can
Yeah,
enjoy time together, or else you're going to be miserable. You're not going
sure.
to want to talk to them. You're not going to want to get on the phone. You're not going to have these conversations. Oh, you know what? There was a roof leak over there. What are we going to do? You're not going to want to do that. And that's going to hinder your business and hinder your growth.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't want a partner that every time their name pops up on my phone that I think, oh, geez, what do they want now?
And we've had those.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like I see their name pop up and I'm like, well, shit.
Exactly. Right. And that's exactly it, right? We're building our business, we're building our empire, we're building our generational wealth. And we want to do it with people that we like so that we can enjoy ourselves. I
Yeah.
can go out and get another job and have, the person sit next to me being asked and be like, all right, I got to deal with them every single day until I retire. And I've had that as well. Right. And I refuse to go back there.
Good for you. I mean,
Right.
it's exactly what we should all aspire to. I mean, you talked earlier about Dale Carnegie's definition of success, and I live with a different one from a guy named Tom Bilyeu, who's the founder of Quest Nutrition. I was fortunate enough to get to spend some time with him and have lunch with him at a conference a while back, and he said something so profound that he said the definition of success is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself.
Mm,
And that's exactly what you're saying there, that you don't want to be in a spot where it's like, where you're just miserable all the time. And I think so many people are stuck in these 9 to 5 corporate jobs where they're just miserable, but they're
mhm.
stuck because of a paycheck.
Yep.
And I was there too. It was like every time I wanted to break off and go out and start my own business, every time I'd get up the nerve to tell my boss, today's my last day, they'd come to me with, oh, well, we're going to give you a raise. We're going to give you a promotion. We're going to give you a little title bump. We're going to give you a bonus, whatever it is. And I
Mhm.
just realized that they're just like these little, just small little stair steps on a daily basis, that it's nothing more than just a little bit just to keep you around
That's right.
so that they
That's right.
can continue to get rich off of your hard work. You
Mhm.
should be getting rich off of your hard work. And rich, however you define rich, right?
Right.
It doesn't have to be with money. Money is fantastic because you can do a lot of good with it. and you can travel and you can see the world and you can pay your bill and you can do all of those things. But man, don't let somebody else rob you of that. Don't spend another day not doing what you want to do, not doing what you're passionate about, not living for yourself because you're too afraid of that guaranteed income. Bet
Yeah.
on yourself.
That guaranteed income is what I call a soul sucker.
Oh, it comes with a price, doesn't
Oh,
it? It
a
comes
heavy
with a
price.
price.
I was born and raised in New York City, right? And went to college in New York City. So the subway system was my mode of transportation since I was, 11 years old. And I remember sitting on the subways as I got older, right? And started working and whatnot, looking at the people in the morning getting on, they're like miserable, then getting home at night. Everybody is always miserable. They're just going through the motions and they're not living life. And that's why all these zombie movies have come out. I swear to God, this is why all these zombies, they look at the people on the subways and they go, look, they're dead. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
The life and the soul was sucked out of them because we are put on this planet to make it better, to fulfill ourselves, to experience life, to experience this rock that we call planet Earth, to create memories with our friends and families. And that's the spark of life. When you put that spark out, there's nothing left to live for.
Yeah.
Right. So
Exactly right.
we gotta instill that spark back into people and say, hey, kind of slap them around and wake them up and say, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. And with technology and with podcasts like this and with live streams, we can reach so many people. And hopefully we can change one soul, right? We can pull one soul out. I got a guy, Bradley Seidel. He says, really changed my mind about partners. Filling in your gaps can be a true force multiplier. Absolutely, Brad.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
It is huge.
That is the only way to scale your business. You look at all these wealthy people, right? You look at Elon Musk, you look at Gates, you look at the guy from Apple and all these guys, right? Every successful person, look at yourself, right? Anybody who's achieved success or who's achieved scalability in their business has used other people's and fill in the blank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other people's skill sets, knowledge, sweat equity, money. You leverage everything. Everybody's leverage, right? You spoke about Kiyosaki. I saw a video of his where he goes, rich people get rich because of debt. Poor people don't know how to use debt to get rich. Rich people, successful people use debt. What is he saying? We're leveraging other people's money. We're borrowing money to buy a cash flowing asset. And now we can make money off of that, right? It's amazing how many wealthy people drive around in their old shitty pickup trucks and whatnot, because that the flashy stuff is not what makes them successful.
Right.
Right. It's that journey. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, 100%. There's a whole lot of people who are just miserable and fearful and just waiting for that next paycheck so that they can make the car payment on that fancy car that they can't afford, that they bought to impress a whole bunch of people that they don't give a shit about.
Mm-hmm. There's a new wave hitting now. I was reading an article where a lot of the pandemic money that people got, they went and they took that money and they put it as a down payment for cars they can't afford. So now there's a whole repo happening of cars that are coming online. Right? That was what happened in 08, 09 with the real estate crash, right?
Yeah.
People couldn't afford houses. They went and got mortgages because if you had a pulse, if you had a breath, they gave you a mortgage. 5 years later, they're going, I can't afford this mortgage payment, right? So it's happening. People are irresponsible, but it comes down to a lack of education, don't you think?
It exactly does. It comes down with a lack of education and a lack of awareness, and people just not fully understanding what genuinely makes them happy. And so if we can get to the root of that And then people can start utilizing platforms like this show that you've got here, and start learning from others who have done it before. The roadmap's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, it's not as hard as you think it is. Because if a guy like me can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. I mean, that is no joke. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yep, I'm right there with you. If I can do it, anybody else can. You know, you graduated college, university. I'm not a college dropout. I'm a college dropout. I never got that paper. I never got that degree, right? For me, it was like for yourself, it was finding someone who had the knowledge, the skill set, and the ability to teach me, and then it was on myself to take that knowledge and to take action. Right? So many people out there, they get the knowledge, but they don't take action. Right? Let me ask you this. What, other than partners and whatnot, what else do you accredit for being able to scale your business? Was it some systems and processes that you were able to put in place?
It was taking just a little bit of time each and every day to work on that aspect of my business. I'm not naive enough to think that anybody out there who wants to go get in this can just quit their 9 to 5 tomorrow, tell their boss to stick it and then just leave, because they've got mortgages, they have families, they have bills and payments, and the grocery store doesn't accept hugs and good feelings. They want cash, right? But finding a plan, understanding what my vision is, what my goals are, and then doing something small every single day, working towards that. But in terms of systems and processes and what I didn't necessarily have a lot in the beginning. I probably did a lot of things the long way, the wrong way and the long way, because I didn't have the systems and processes in place. And it was, I scaled significantly slower, but it was because just grit and determination that kept me going. What I wish I would have done sooner was hire a property manager sooner. So I know I told you that we manage the properties for free on a schedule to get back. Well, the initial plan would have had us paying that back somewhere in 14 to 16 months. We were actually able to raise rents enough and collect enough rent to where we were paid back in about 8.5 or 9 months. But we continued managing the properties on our own after that. I wish I would have hired a property manager sooner, but I got back into that same old mindset of the same reason I didn't want to take a partner to begin with. It's like, no, that's going to eat into my profit. That's going to eat into my profit. Until I realized one day when I sat down and I figured out, what am I truly looking for? What do I truly want? I don't want money. I want time.
Mm-hmm.
The property manager bought me that time. And yes, it was a little less coming home in the wallet each and every day, but I had all of that additional time that I could do whatever I wanted. I could go out to my other real estate business, my real estate sales business, and it would allow me to get more clients that way and make more money that way. It allowed me to spend more time with my kids, with my family. It allowed me to spend more time traveling. But not hiring a property manager soon enough really, I think, slowed down our growth significantly, because I think we were so busy at the time, and not having that property manager, I was probably a little afraid to scale even further, because I didn't think that I had the capacity to take on any more units.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes we got to take a little bit less on the financial side, but the upside to that is huge.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just like you said, you get to work on different things. You get to spend time with the family, right? A lot of times, people just don't want to, right? They say, no, I'm going to do it myself. And they're bombarded with everything. They don't have time for anything. And they fall back into the same, what's what I'm looking for, the same structure that they were at when they had a job.
Yeah. And it just becomes another version of a job, just without the guaranteed paycheck. If you're going to keep going through that, you might as well go back to the 9 to 5 so that you've got the guarantee and the benefits and the 401k and everything else. But I'll tell you that the tipping point for me was a 3:30 a.m. call that I took from a tenant who called and said, Hey, this is John from Unit One over on Second Street, and the girl in number five, her boyfriend just hit me in the face with a bottle. And I said, okay, well, what did the police say? And he said, well, I didn't call the police. I called you. And that's when I knew I need a property manager ASAP. No more 3:30 a.m. calls to tell somebody they need to call the police because they got hit in the face with a bottle.
That's right. That's
So
right.
that was the wake up call I needed. But hopefully anybody listening here doesn't need a 3:30 a.m. phone call to make the decision that they know deep down should be made.
Absolutely. You don't want to get that call. And that usually those calls happen at 3 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
or on Thanksgiving or on Christmas Eve, or, when you're at a wedding, when you're at an event.
Nobody gets
something
hit
or
in the
other.
face with a bottle at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. It's
Right. I wish they did. It would save a lot of
yeah.
a lot
Yeah,
of headache.
toilets don't start leaking, at noon on a Thursday. It doesn't happen that way. It's always middle of the night kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Luke, last couple of comments for people that are listening that want to get started in real estate, that are there, that want to kind of take it to the next level. What do you have to share with them?
Well, I can tell you that I'm a real estate agent as well, and I work with a lot of investors. I work almost exclusively with investors, and because it's something that I'm super passionate about. And as I was working with new investors specifically, they were always asking, "What do I need to look out for? What are the pitfalls? What are all these things?" And so I decided at one point that I was going to sit down and write a book on all of the things that investors, all of these mistakes that both that I made and I see new investors make as they're getting into the business. Um, and for me, I written a book before, and it was a nice little, just some passive residual income that I had from sales on Amazon. And I thought, okay, this will be another good opportunity for that. Till one day somebody asked me the question, and I really started thinking about it and said, well, if I'm genuinely passionate about helping people get into this business, should I really be charging them for this book? And that's when I said, no, screw it. I went out and I said, this book is 100% free for anybody that wants it. It's not regional. It's not, it doesn't just work in Kentucky. It works all over the country. They're just general lessons that I've learned. But if people want to go to 10investormistakes.com, and that's the number 10, investormistakes.com, they can go through. It is the top 10 lessons that I have learned and the mistakes that I saw almost every single investor make as they were getting into the business. It goes through really in depth some of the deals that I had, how I structured them financially, deal issues I've had with property managers, and building out teams and partnerships and all kinds of things that are in there that I think are extremely beneficial.
That's awesome. Well, travelers, you heard it. You heard the link, and it was 10. Let's write it down again. If you want to repeat that.
10investormistakes.com, and it's the number 10, 10investormistakes.com.
Awesome.
Download it. It's only available as an ebook, but it is 100% free. They're welcome to go download it at any time.
Well, I'm going to go download it right now and check it out. That's awesome, man. You can never get too much education. You can never get too much different perspectives from people. And
Can I make one disclaimer?
Absolutely.
We said earlier, I am from Louisville, Kentucky. I may have graduated from college, but I did graduate in Kentucky. So if you are looking for proper grammar, appropriate sentence structure, all of that good stuff, you are probably in the wrong spot. I write like I talk. So it's very conversational, probably a little bit redneck, but the information is valuable. I've got several people that can attest to that.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for putting that book out there, for helping people change their lives, for doing what you do. We need a lot more people out there that are willing to go out and make a change, a positive change for themselves, their families, and for other people. So, Luke, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for dropping those serious some of those good nuggets for us. We appreciate it. And travelers, you can find Luke all over social media. Remember his ebook, 10investormistakes.com. You can find him on Instagram, on LinkedIn, lukeandrews.teachable.com. Check him out, get to know him. And if you're out in Louisville, where else do you invest in?
I invest fairly regionally here, so I'm within about 100 miles in any direction. I think we were just talking about that. I purchased my first short-term rental Airbnb not long ago. It's about 80 miles from here in a place called Red River Gorge, and then I've got a lot of rentals in southern Indiana and kind of up the river just a little way. So.
Awesome. Well, travelers, if you want to go out and invest in a great market like Louisville, reach out to Luke. He's there. He wants to help you. He can help you stay out of those pitfalls and show you exactly where you need to be and what you need to do. Luke, thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Happy to help, brother. Happy to be here. Thank you.
You got it. All right, travelers. Like I said, I'm Nitzan Mosby. Join me next week somewhere on Spaceship Earth, where we're going to have another guest where we talk about and we demystify the art of mastering your mind, body, and wallet. I'm Nitzan Mosby, the traveling investor. I'll see you next week somewhere on Spaceship Earth. And do us a favor. Go to YouTube. Check out the Traveling Investor YouTube channel. Click, like, subscribe, share, watch those videos. There's a lot of great free content out there. Go to iHeartRadio, go to Spotify, and all the other podcast stations to listen to the Traveling Investor live Q&A show. I'm Nitzan Mosby, the Traveling Investor. And like I said, I will see you next week somewhere on Spaceship Earth. Take care. Be well. Awesome, man. Luke, thanks so much for.
And it really was great.